Hello, how are you? If you have diabetes, prediabetes, or insulin resistance, you need to watch this video. I'm going to tell you here about the best milk for those living with diabetes. I've selected some milks that people consume the most or should consume in their daily lives to improve glucose control, age with better health. Anyway, we know that milk is part of our daily diet. Even if you don't drink coffee with milk for breakfast, it's part of recipes sometimes and everything else, and it can have a big impact on your blood sugar. Let's start the video. I'm sure you're going to love it. Stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. Before we start, I want to ask if you usually consume milk in your daily life and which milk you consume. Do you have diabetes or not? Write it for me down here in the comments. Many people think milk is a very nutritious, very healthy food, cow's milk, right? After all, it is a source of protein, of calcium. Milk is actually a very complex food, and it basically has 3 macronutrients in it. It's not just protein and calcium, okay? It has protein, it has calcium, which is a micronutrient, another thing, but it also has fat and it has carbohydrates, and many people forget about that. In traditional cow's milk, the carbohydrate is there in the form of lactose, right? Which is nothing more than the natural sugar in milk. So when you drink milk, the intestine uses an enzyme that we have, right, which is lactase, to break down lactose into 2 equal parts, glucose and galactose. So even if you buy regular cow's milk with no added sugar, just plain milk, whether it comes in a carton or a bag, it already contains sugar naturally, so to speak. So for those who have diabetes, prediabetes, or metabolic syndrome, it can make a difference because we know that every gram of glucose matters. So there's another very important detail for us to talk about, which is that food doesn't necessarily need to be rich in carbohydrates to stimulate your insulin. This is a very important point because milk has specific proteins, especially whey proteins, which have a high insulinemic index. So many people with insulin resistance can have a spike in insulin production because of this cow's milk protein. So the body ends up storing fat more easily and feels very hungry a few hours later. Many people who are diabetic tell me, Patricia, when I consume cow's milk, my glucose increases much faster and I have more difficulty lowering it afterwards. This may be related to everything I've said here to you. So you must be wondering how I made this list, what I took into account, right, when preparing it. 4 things. First, glycemic impact. I evaluated here how much each drink alters that blood sugar curve. The lower the spike, the safer it is for us. Second, satiety. We know that milk needs to fill our stomach, silence our hunger hormones, so the longer it keeps you satiated, the better for weight loss, for metabolic control. Third, of course, nutritional density, meaning it can't just be water, right? Milk needs to provide essential minerals such as magnesium and calcium, good fats, and preferably protein to have a good nutritional profile for us. And fourth, we can't fail to mention its versatility in everyday life. Milk has to be tasty. There's no point in it being undrinkable. It has to be easy for us to make or find, to buy, and it has to work well in coffee, in recipes, and smoothies in our daily life, right? So let's start with our list. For me, the best milk for those living with diabetes is plant-based milk, like almond or peanut milk, which you can make at home. You don't need to buy it ready-made. I have a playlist here on the channel about plant-based milks. I'll explain this to you right away because you can make it at home and it's infinitely cheaper, and you can still use the leftover pulp to make other recipes, and you can know exactly what's in your milk, right? Which will basically just be the plant and water, so 100% natural. Actually, why do I like this milk so much? It has near 0 carbs. So unlike cow's milk, these nuts have a very insignificant amount of carbohydrates, which means the impact on blood sugar ends up being basically nil, which stabilizes, this line, this sugar line, this glucose spike. Second, this is a milk that has cardioprotective fats, so peanuts, almonds, they are very rich in unsaturated fats, which are the same noble fats present in olive oil, for example. So these fats also slow down digestion, promote more satiety, as I told you is important, and this helps not only to protect the cardiovascular system, but this satiety, this good fat, helps to keep glucose more stable too, right? It takes longer to empty the stomach and for the food to reach the intestine and the bloodstream. There's the bonus of magnesium too, right? Magnesium is one of the conductors of our metabolism. It participates in insulin signaling. It acts like a key, right? Insulin is the hormone that acts like a key to make the sugar enter the cell and leave the bloodstream. So most people living with diabetes may have a magnesium deficiency, and this milk helps to naturally replenish part of those stores. And there's also the issue of fiber, because when you make the milk at home and don't filter it excessively, sometimes you don't even need to filter it. Take a look at my video. It also retains a fantastic amount of fiber, which increases satiety, improves digestibility, helps keep food in the stomach longer, right? Making the glucose spike flatter, and also promotes the growth of good bacteria in your gut, improving the microbiota. So it's really wonderful. It's a great option. In the first few weeks, you might notice that energy fluctuation because, well, many people who feel very sleepy after breakfast or after the time they drink cow's milk will feel that this stabilizes because there won't be that impactful glucose spike anymore. So it helps to provide more stable energy. Also, perhaps you'll feel more satiated, have fewer episodes of binge eating, but many people tell me that it greatly reduces the craving for sweets. So that's a benefit in itself. Before continuing with the other milks, I know you must be thinking, but does this mean cow's milk is forbidden? Will I have to throw my milk away? That's not it. That's not the idea of the video. We know that in nutrition, the word forbidden is very delicate and is rarely used. It's not that it's toxic to you, a poison, nothing like that. And the need to remove it will depend honestly on your individual sensitivity, your level of insulin resistance, and the context of your meal. Because the worst case scenario is waking up fasting and having a glass of cow's milk or coffee with milk accompanied by white bread, jam, or chocolate powder. Obviously, that's going to have a much worse nutritional value as the carbs from the bread combine with the chocolate powder and the jam, so it causes a very big spike. Now, a smarter scenario, if you absolutely insist on cow's milk, is to always consume it with fiber, like psyllium, chia, or flaxseed, and a healthy fat, like an avocado, for example, or coconut. Chia and flaxseed themselves have healthy fats. At least you'll slow down gastric emptying and the spike will be smaller. The amount of carbohydrates in the milk will still be there, but the absorption will be slower and more gradual. Let's continue with our list. If you're liking the video, if it's making things easier for you, helping you out, please leave a like, okay? Because that helps me a lot here on the channel. If you know someone who would benefit from this, share it too and subscribe because I have a new video every day and you're sure to love it. So for me, the second best milk for those who want to control blood sugar is unsweetened coconut milk, homemade. I also have a video here on how to make it, or store-bought, as long as it's just coconut and water, okay? So it's a very interesting choice because especially if you follow a basically low-carb diet, it's incredible. The big advantage of it is that the carbohydrate content is also almost zero, but it has many benefits. It contains MCTs, which are medium-chain triglycerides that don't need complex enzymes from the pancreas to be digested. They go straight to the liver, where they are transformed into quick energy, clean energy that goes directly to the brain and muscles without needing to trigger insulin. So it's very interesting. Of course, we have to mention that coconut milk is calorie dense. So if your goal besides controlling blood sugar is to lose weight, the ideal is to dilute the store-bought coconut milk if you're using it from a bottle, can, or carton, that you dilute it. For example, put in about 3 fingers worth and fill the rest with water to drink it like milk, especially since it's very dense. Now, if you're making it at home, you can always vary the amount of water and dissolve more coconut in the water so that it becomes more fluid, even resembling the texture of regular milk without having so many calories, okay? This is a very important point. As I told you, I have a video here on how to prepare it, talking more about the texture differences and everything else. I'll leave it down here in the description. The third one on our list for me is sesame milk. I also have a video here on the channel teaching how to prepare it. Sesame milk is one of the most underrated, but it has an ultra interesting nutritional value. Besides being very low in carbohydrates, it has a lot of fiber, very healthy fats, and it is one of the richest milks in calcium that exists. In fact, it has more calcium than cow's milk. So, for many people who, after the age of 50 or 60, want to preserve bone density, it is one of the best milks that exists. And there's no issue with lactose, right? So it doesn't have that insulinemic response issue that often happens for many people. In addition to having calcium, it has magnesium, it has zinc, it has polyunsaturated fats. As I already told you, depending on the filtration you do, it has a very significant amount of fiber and the flavor is quite neutral. So it works really well as a base for smoothies or shakes. It masks very well and has a very healthy taste. Seed milks are usually a bit more watery than nut milks, so just keep in mind that it'll be noticeably more liquid than peanut milk, but it's still incredibly flavorful and very easy to incorporate into your daily diet, okay? Fourth on our list, I would put homemade soy milk or soy milk that you buy ready-made without sugar. Soy milk makes it onto my list here because it comes from a legume and it has a very interesting quantity and quality of protein. Among the options from the plant kingdom, soy milk is one of those with the most protein when we compare it, especially with cow's milk, right? And when we think about older people who struggle with sarcopenia, which is the progressive loss of muscle mass resulting from age, keeping muscles strong is very important. So, choosing a milk that provides a good protein intake with good nutritional value is also important. Soy milk, I don't think I've made it here on the channel yet. It's the only one I haven't prepared. If you want me to make it, put it here for me in the comments. Make soy milk, and I'll come and make a video explaining how to prepare it with all the tips for you. And when buying, right, check the label to make sure it's an unflavored soy milk, without coloring, without sugar, obviously, right, to be a good quality soy milk. If I had to tell you here about a milk you shouldn't consume if you want to control your blood sugar, for me, the worst one is rice milk, because rice milk is a milk that won't bring you many nutritional benefits. It is basically pure starch. When the industry takes rice and blends it with water to make rice milk, it breaks down the grain structure, turning that starch into a liquid that's very easy to digest and absorb. Rice milk has a very high amount of glucose, of carbohydrates, and practically no fiber, no fat, no protein, so the glycemic index goes through the roof, so it can be very, very harmful to your blood sugar levels. Even more so when we know that many rice milks in supermarkets still have sugar, right? So be careful. Even if you make it at home by blending water with cooked rice, it will be a milk with a super large amount of carbohydrates and a low amount of nutrients, so I don't recommend it. This is one of those that I put here as a no for you to consume. If you choose not to make the milks at home and opt to buy them at the supermarket, I have to give you a very important tip, which is to look very closely at the label. Because, for example, almond milk, you'll see, has less than 2% almond. When you make it at home, you have a much more interesting proportion, and as I told you, you have more control over the nutritional quality. What happens is that many industries, right, many brands actually choose to lower costs, and so they put a very small amount of the actual food, while the rest is mostly all water, and they even add thickeners like xanthan gum, guar gum, which by themselves won't really harm you, but they are just put there to give the sensation of a much thicker, creamier milk, pretending there's far more real food in there, you know? Sometimes they add refined vegetable oils, which is bad, right? Which is harmful to us. And maltodextrin to also provide that emulsification, to give it consistency. Maltodextrin by itself can indeed be harmful to you. It can raise your blood sugar. Refined vegetable oil, right, won't add any benefits, just calories. So if you can, make it at home, as it's more economical. If you really choose to buy it, check the label. It basically has to have water and almonds, water and coconut, water and peanuts, water and whatever it may be to be a good quality milk. Take a look at my playlist there because I think you'll see that it's very easy to make and you'll want to make it at home. It's much easier to prepare. Certainly, the people who will benefit most from the switch are those living with type 2 diabetes, people who are pre-diabetic who have insulin resistance, people who have a lot of abdominal fat, metabolic syndrome, and even those who have fatty liver. Because I've already told you here in several videos the relationship between insulin resistance, high blood sugar, and fatty liver. So I'm going to leave you here some playlists about foods and blood sugar, foods and liver, how to help you lose weight healthily to help you in this process. So tell me which of these milks you're most excited to consume if you were already consuming any of them, or if I missed mentioning any, I'd love to see your comment. Remember to leave a like on the video, it helps me a lot, and share it with those who will like it, with those who need it. Let's expand our chain of kindness, which is what I want here with the channel. See you next time. Bye.